Quaid Azam, Part 49. The concluding opinion came from Morley with his well-known declaration in House of Lords on 17 December 1908. If I were attempting to set up a parliamentary system in India, or if it could be said that this chapter of reforms led directly or necessarily up to the establishment of a parliamentary system in India, I, for one, would have nothing at all to do with it. It ought therefore to have been abundantly clear what imperial intent was, and yet another step had got engraved on the memory templates of those times. Fate was dragging us towards the political separateness, and we went unheedingly alone, for we did not even read the warning signals that had been then begun to flash. It was in these circumstances that Muslims now conferred with the identity of a separate political community, equipped themselves with a political organization. It was essentially the self-appointed from almost the whole of India who had Muslim leaders gathered together for this Shimla deputation. Inevitable and convenient too that a formal Muslim political organization ought to now emerge from the chrysalis of this very Shimla process. On 30 December 1906, members of the Mohammedan Educational Conference met at Dhaka and converted themselves into All India Muslim League, AIML. On 30 December 1906, members of the Mohammedan Educational Conference met at Dhaka and converted themselves into All India Muslim League. The most members of the Shimla deputation found representation on the Provisional Committee of the League, the through being formally or appointed at Dhaka. The foundations of League had not yet set. Nawab Salimullah of Dhaka, earlier absent from the Shimla deputation, was now the initiator of this process, having circulated a scheme for a Muslim All India Confederacy as an early forerunner of things to come. Muslims from the United Provinces were even then not prepared to yield to the Muslims of Bengal. This young lawyer element of Uttar Pradesh, well represented at Dhaka, were a restive and an impatient lot. They asserted themselves 25 members of the 55-strong provisional committee declined to support the loyalist line favoured by the landlords and the government pensioners. To paper over these cracks, a neutral resolution was adopted. At this stage, no attempt was made to spell out the nature of the Muslim political interest needing protection or promotions. This was clearly not the time for any such initiative. The League at this stage was, after all, just a loyalist body. As is only normal, the AIML remained a rather feeble infant for several decades after being baptized in 1906. Financially, it was dependent on the subventions of the Muslim nawabs and princes. In the agitation of 1909 against the Electoral College scheme, many of the telegrams calling upon the government to hold fast to a scheme of separate electorates were sent more on behalf of the local Anjumans than the Muslim League. In 1910, the first elections held under the Motley Minter reforms, the Muslim League failed to act as an organization. It did not even present itself to the new Muslim electorate as a political party and had not recognizable political platform in the election, of course.